Welcome to Rogue Bogues, the basketball series. We're going to be doing a lot of playoff previews, even though there's a couple of games that have gone by because of time of recording, but we'll do our best. Pro, what is news?
Bogues, I'm actually out in LA, Irvine to be exact. I'm working out some players for the NBA draft. An agent friend of mine that used to work for Bill Duffy, he's out on his own. He works for a company called Rep One, who reps Patrick Beverley, Robert Williams, and a bunch of other NBA players. And then they hired me to work out their draft class. And then also I have a college kid that I work with during the year breaking down his film that's testing the waters. He was going to come to Dallas to work me out, but since I'm going to be in LA, he came out here. His name's Max Christie. He was a McDonald's All-American. So working him out as well, just to educate him on the draft process to see if he gets good feedback. If he does, he'll stay in. If not, probably go back to school. So yeah, so that's sort of where we're at. It's pretty cool. And I saw our boy Josh Giddey.
Did you?
Yeah, he was in the gym. He looked at me like he saw 9 fucking ghosts. Like, who the fuck are you? I didn't know if he thought I was Buddha or fucking some Hare Krishna guy trying to fucking get money off of him. But I said I work for the pod, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna see Bogues next week." And I said, "Well, that's your fault, not mine. You're gonna see that big motherfucker." So that's it. I guess he's gonna come see you. Maybe it's a surprise party that I just ruined. I don't know.
Maybe first I've heard. So maybe he's gonna show up on my doorstep and say hello. But first I've heard. But I also heard you had a real good interaction with these new age trainers, Pro.
Bogues, you gotta see this shit out here, man. I mean, literally, like, they need to be brought up on federal fucking charges, what they're doing to these kids. No pun intended. But fucking, I look over, I go to another gym and I'm looking, and they got these 2 fucking kids that like basketball as much as I like fucking broccoli, right? Their parents are fucking loaded, 8 figures easy, probably robbing these 2 poor pricks for like $300 an hour. So I'm saying to myself, usually when I watch a player work out, I don't care if it's NBA, high school, college, I size them up first. I'm like, all right, this is what I would probably work on, right? So I'm saying, okay, these kids, like, they literally like skateboard punks, don't want to fucking be there. So I'm like, all right, maybe do some layups and ball handling, maybe teach them how to shoot correctly. Yeah, these fuckers go right into the sham guard. In the first 5 seconds of the fucking workout, they're trying to do sham guards. It was fucking criminal what they did to these guys. Then, like, one guy sweeping up the floor before the workout, and he's got some other prick fucking taping him, saying, "Yeah, I'm never above the little things. It's all
the
about
actual
the
player was
sweeping
the floor, right?
No, the coach, the trainer was sweeping the floor before.
Oh, okay.
Like, sweeping up, and then he's got, like, of course, nothing happens. It's not scripted in that fucking world. So he's got some prick with a fucking cell phone in front of him, and he's talking into the fucking cell phone like it was the Last Dance documentary, and he's getting fucking interviewed for fucking, to fucking Fox Sports or something. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Then I had a trainer get it, like, he's working out 2 little kids. He's getting shots up, folks. They're rebounding for him during the fucking workout. Folks, you cannot make this fucking shit up. I just shake my fucking head, man. I just shake my head.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's beautiful.
What was the best prop you saw used in a workout besides the broom?
The broom. Oh, they have the what's it called? The gloves that you handle the ball in, the weighted gloves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the new
give
thing.
Me a fucking break. Yeah. How about he should get a weighted kick in his fucking ass for using that bullshit. It's fucking unbelievable, folks. These fucking trainers out here would coach the 92 Dream Team to a 500 record. They know nothing about
and record
basketball.
it with a documentary series.
Yes, a 22-part documentary series. It's
I remember
the
only prop I had with my trainer was a skipping rope, and the other one was I did have those. Remember those kind of goggle glasses things that didn't let you look down when you were ball handling? That were the only 2 things I had. I had that in my bag and a skipping rope, and I hated that. I wanted to burn that skipping rope as a kid because that was part of my 20-minute warm up every day.
Yeah,
but the
I remember
goggles,
you saying that in your pod. Yeah.
Yeah, man, he used to make me skip every single day. And it obviously worked because coordination and agility, but the goggles so you couldn't look down they made sense, right? So you couldn't look down at the ball. It blocked your vision looking down. But some of this shit you see today, there's all kinds of. They've got 15 bags of props. It's like a clown show at these workouts, man. You just
And then one guy wanted to help out. One of these other trainers wanted to help us out and rebound because my fat ass. I think I need a bacchiotomy after fucking trying to rebound for a couple of days. My back was fucked, right? So like this guy helped. Like this guy tried to help out, and I just told him. I said, look, a couple of things about our workouts. There's no fucking clown show. I'm not going to have a camera crew like I'm filming Pirates of the Caribbean Part 7. This ain't Steven fucking Spielberg. This is actually teaching basketball. So if you want to do that, if you don't mind doing that, we're good. But, this is not going to be a fucking clown show like I see out here. Bogues, like that's why our kids aren't all that fucked because of AAU. Like AAU basketball, look, you play, right? You play. Yeah, it's important to work on your skills, but you play. But whatever you're being taught, you need people who actually know what the fuck they're talking about. You don't need to be certified to be a trainer. You don't have to pass a test. You don't have to be a coach at all. All it is memorizing moves. That's it. And I told the kid today, I was working out a college kid today. And I just a kid that saw me working guys out. He asked me if I'd work him out today. I said, yeah. So I said, look, buddy. I go, what do you do with your trainer at home? He's telling me all these elaborate fucking moves. They go, I just rolled my head. I've rolled the eyes back in my fucking head. I'm like, what are you doing? I said, look, bud, like when you get into a game, like, and you have whatever offensive package that you have in your game, it's like preset dials on your it's like a preset dial in your car on your radio. You got 6 stations. But you fuckers today, you like going into cars and looking and having 186 buttons down there instead of 6. You should have 4 to 6 things you can go to at any minute that they can get you a basket. Like, how are you going to know with all these predetermined fucking bullshit moves that you work on, all isolation, never working on spacing or cutting or actually playing? That's why our young guys are fucked. Yeah, AAU basketball has been around for 50 fucking years, 60 years. Like some, it's actually good for some players. It's not so great for others. But what's being taught to our youth is fucking criminal.
But you're not all going. 5 guys aren't going to handle the ball.
No. Yeah. Watch the playoffs. It's unbelievable. Like my client, like Max Christie, we were both watching the Dallas game. I was watching my house. He was watching his. And like, we were talking about in crunch time, fucking Mike Conley makes a righty floater, an offhand floater. And he goes, wow, great shot. I'm like, yeah, opposite hand. It's really good. I go, I'm still waiting for the 9 dribble, 2 crossover, step back, sidestep, fadeaway jump shot that all these fuckers are working on in the gym. Like, do you see any of that in playoff basketball? That's why, like, you could say what you want. And I've made fun of the NBA a bunch on this show, and I'll hold myself to that. But in playoff basketball, that's the highest level of basketball, in my opinion, that you can watch, because of the fact that the ball moves mostly, not all teams, but most ball moves, straight line drives, catch and shoot,
quick decisions.
Quick decisions. It's, as Kobe told me, the game's reactionary. It's just reactionary. It's not predetermined bullshit. It's reactionary. So anyways, that's my little fucking spiel on training.
It's good to have the swear per minute count back up to where it was in the first 30-odd episodes.
I've actually been nice the last few weeks.
That's what I'm saying. It's good to have it back. Yeah. I know we'll get some complaints and we'll get some people loving it too. So come at us. But it is interesting these days with the way things are going. And the further, it's a good point for the kids out there and parents that are watching playoff basketball. The further it gets, the higher the quality goes. So the teams that make the conference finals usually are solid defensively and they're team first, a team first team with stars, right? The teams that have individuals ever rarely go deep, or at least to a final series. Now, there are outliers every now and then. You might get a Brooklyn this season who play very individual, but I even think that Brooklyn will be moving the ball more than they usually do come playoff time. So we'll see how that goes. But let's get rolling with this NBA playoff picture real quick. We'll wrap up the plains. Cleveland versus Brooklyn. No surprise there, really. Brooklyn kind of had control of that playing game the whole time. Atlanta versus Charlotte was interesting. I thought that would have been a bit closer, Pro. Atlanta just kicked the shit out of them. Charlotte looked awful. Trae Young and Ball both had horror games shooting-wise. It was an ugly game, but Atlanta, beat the crap out of them. And then Atlanta and Cleveland then play. I felt like Cleveland they had control of that game, but the length really bothered Atlanta in the first half. Capella goes down, they go kind of a bit smaller. Trae Young was awful in the first half, and then a lead in the second, and they steal that win and qualify for the playoffs. What were your takes on the Eastern Conference play-ins, Pro?
Yeah, same here. Like, I like the series part. The NCAA tournament, you get the one game and out, and then you get the, with the play-in, you get this one game deal, and it really puts the sense of urgency back in the games. And Charlotte wasn't ready to play, and Atlanta was. And, and then in the second game, like you said, like Trae Young was terrible. You and I were talking back and forth a little bit about it. I think Jared Allen, just coming back, played a lot of minutes and wasn't really effective down the stretch as he should be. But, I just thought Atlanta was focused. It's weird. Capella was a big part of their team all year, with rolling to the rim protection, rebounding. And to lose him, you're like, oh, boy, I don't know. I'm not really expecting great things now. I think, Cleveland's going to set this one home. And I was pretty surprised, to be honest with you, that Atlanta fought back. We were harsh on Atlanta last year, and they prevailed in the playoffs and did well. I don't expect them to do the same thing this year, but they did fight. Like, they got punched in the face. You expect a team like that not to really respond. They responded well. And and now they move on, and they move on to the playoffs. So interesting.
Yeah, very interesting, very interesting. So I feel like Cleveland let that slip more than Atlanta took it, but you give Atlanta credit. Moving on to the West. First off, we have the Clippers versus Minnesota, which was interesting in its own right. Minnesota come out and win that game. There was a lot of jokes and memes, which everyone would have seen, of them championship type celebrations, which was pretty over the top. But look, I mean, they haven't been in the playoffs for a long time. They're in that boat with Sacramento and a few other teams. They're finally back there, and they were pumped about it. And you can't fault them for that. But it was over the top. But they beat the Clippers. The Spurs had their chances against New Orleans in the 9-10. New Orleans started really cold. Spurs I don't know what the hell's going on. The rotations really shortened up from their regular season. No Landale, no Spurs Pro. They don't even give him a sniff, which was interesting. I thought he was, it's just a real weird vibe there with Landale and the Spurs. He played 1 out of 5 games roughly in the regular season and would have a good game and then not play again. But the Spurs get bounced, and then we go to Clippers versus New Orleans. Paul George gets announced with COVID or in the protocol, so he's out. Puts New Orleans to favourites. New Orleans start off real well, and then the Clippers, take the lead in the third. And I made a point of it. I tweeted about it. Former teammate of mine, I think Larry Nance Jr. was the turning point for New Orleans. 14 and 16, but just how vital his offensive rebounds in that third and fourth quarter were to get, New Orleans would often come up with, I think they got down 10 at one point and just was struggling. Their offense bogged down. They couldn't get anything. It went real isolation based. They had some horse shit offensive possessions, and then Larry Nance would get an offensive rebound and kick it out to a wide open three. And I thought Brandon Ingram had a hell of a game, especially early on. He carried them in the first half. It was a pretty good game for a play-in. That's what you want. And I think, as much as we were kind of on the fence about the play-ins, how's this going to work? I think they've been great. I think they've been fantastic for the most part, bar the Atlanta-Charlotte game. All the games were pretty entertaining, and I think that Clippers-New Orleans game was sensational. What's your takes on the West?
Yeah, like the same. I thought that Larry Nance played big time, and he's been hurt. Like, since he got traded there, he was hurt most of the year, and he really didn't play. I thought he had surgery to have like season-ending surgery, earlier, like right after the trade. I thought he was done, and here he comes. He just plays his role, plays hard as hell, and was able to sort of do what he needed to do, and really take ownership of that game. And look, they were all excited about having Paul George back in the mix, and that COVID thing. I mean, I didn't think they were tested anymore. I mean, it's crazy. And all of a sudden he's like, everyone's happy, he's back and everything's good. And boom, that's such a blow to them. And as tough as they are and as well as they played all year, they don't really have that scoring, and not to have a Paul George or a Kawhi Leonard or both, really puts them at especially in the playoffs, you need multiple scorers to really get things done and multiple playmakers. And I think without Paul George and Kawhi, I didn't think they were going to have much of a chance. And, Minnesota, look, they made fun of them and all that. Look, they were a little over the top as they, no question about it. But hey, look, like we said, they haven't made the playoffs in so long. That city loves their basketball, especially when they're winning. And it's cool to see, man. I mean, I don't care. I like busting balls like everybody else, but they deserve it. That's a big thing. With the play-in, Bogues, in my opinion, I think they should shorten it up. I think 7 should be in, and I think 9 and 10 should play one game, and then the winner plays for 8. I think that if you're at 7, I think you deserve to be in my opinion. But that's just me.
I like that for the NBL. I like NBL's top 4 at the moment. There's talks, always ongoing talks about, do we make it a top 5? Do we make it a top 6? Because now I've got a few more teams. Tasmania came in. I like top 3 in. 5 plays 6. Winner plays 4 for 4. I like that for the NBL because it's obviously much less teams. But yeah, interesting. I mean, I think the play-in's pretty close to right. But I think it's harsh on 7 because generally you haven't snuck in 8. You've done the work, got to 7. Maybe you should be automatically in. But I don't think they're changing it. I think what's funny is the playing games are some of their better viewing games on TV, because it's one and done, right? So people are like, oh, it means everything. There's no feelers in the game 1 or game 2 and adjustments. It's like, nah, like you lose this shit, you're going home. So it will be interesting. All right, let's get started with the West. We'll do the East second because there's a game going on right now. That'll finish and then we can chat about it. But we'll start with Phoenix versus New Orleans. Regular season was 3-1 for the Suns. So, we can take that into context for the most part, but with the COVID seasons and whatnot, the lineups are all different through a regular season, so you can't take too much weight into that. But my pick for this series, 4-0 for Phoenix. I think New Orleans have had a hell of a season. The fact that they've, come back from what was, I think, a 1-14 start. Was it, Pro? Let me check.
I want to say 1-11.
I think it was 1-14.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I saw Devontae Graham tweet 1-14. So 1-14 to the playoffs. I could be wrong, but that's what, blame him. I saw the tweet. But, I think it's just going to be business-like for Phoenix. I think they'll sweep. But I think this is going to be an invaluable playoff series for the Pelicans. I really do. I think this can, just because you get swept, it's not the worst thing in the world. Don't forget, New Orleans started horribly. They've salvaged something out of their season, which is sensational for those young guys. It means a lot to a lot of those players who haven't even played in a playoffs before. And I think this will help set them up for the next season or the season after. You need to go through these kind of ass kickings to learn. And when you're getting your ass kicked by a team like Phoenix, you learn from it too. You say, oh, they did this to us. They did that to us. This is where we want to be one day. And I think that'll be invaluable for them. But I think where we go with picking players, we're going to pick a kind of our impact players for each series. So for Phoenix to sweep and do their thing, obviously, I think Devin Booker's the guy, and he's going to be probably guarded by CJ at times, who's not the greatest defender and usually concentrates on the offensive end. So I think Booker's going to be the guy that if they sweep the New Orleans Pelicans, he's going to have a series. And if New Orleans are going to win or even make it a series, I think Brandon Ingram's the guy. I don't think there's a traditional no-brainer matchup that Phoenix have for him because of his length. He's much improved this season. He's getting to his spot. He's playing... I had him in LA. He's just playing much more calmer. He's getting to his spots. He's not panicking. He's making tough shots, and his length, he can rise up over anybody and get his shot off. He's 22, 6 and 6 for the season. I think his length might cause a little bit of problems for some of the elite defenders Phoenix have. So that's my rant on that series. Pro, give us your picks and who you think will be the guys we need to look out for.
Well, I'm picking Phoenix 4-1. Not much of a surprise there. To me, Bogues, like in playoff stuff, you have your elite players, like you have your Booker and your Paul for Phoenix. But I think for me, I think there needs to be another person that steps up. Sometimes I'll pick an elite player, but a lot of times they're going to pick that third player because you just need that other person to really step up for you to be effective in a series. And I think for Phoenix, I think Mikal Bridges has to really step up. like to really just put their imprint on the series. Look, Paul and Booker, you know how it is. It's going to game plan and try to shut those guys down the best they can, especially Ayton as well. I think Bridges is shot making, not only his shot making, but ability to make plays, ability to get in the paint, finish, make that pull up jump shot, make those shots consistently. But I think he really needs to have a great series for those guys. Look, I don't think it's going to be that hard for them, in my opinion, which means New Orleans will probably win in a sweep. But I think that Bridges really needs to put his stamp on things, and then sort of look. He people think he's an all-star and things like going forward as well. And I think that to really do that, he needs to really step up in the playoffs. And not that he hasn't, or he's not, he hasn't done great all year, but I think be that reliable scorer throughout the playoffs, especially in the series. I think he could help. Now for New Orleans, I think, like you were talking about Ingram, like I'm a big Ingram fan. I think that you're right. He is getting better. And he is he's the second guy or first guy, what have you. But like he needs to really have this really good series, regardless win or lose. I think that like you said, he's so much better. And Kobe always told me, he said, look, elite scoring players, him included, he said, as the years go on and you improve by slowing down. You notice guys like that, they're always in a rush or early on in their career, rookie year, and then they learn through getting, through experience and reps and getting punched in the face and trying to persevere. Like slowing down is going to help. And going through these series where you got to carry teams. Now it's him and McCollum, obviously, and they got a couple other guys that could step up. But like I think that he needs to just slow down, having a really efficient series, shooting the ball effectively, not just living on tough shots all the time, but really like he did in the play-in. He really slowed down, just got to a spot, calmed down, and I thought he was very effective. So I think that he really needs to have a great series for them to have not only have a chance to make some noise, win a couple of games, possibly win the series, but I think for his own development going forward, I think that he needs to really make his mark in the series.
Yeah, I would agree. To give them any chance, he needs to fire. Obviously, CJ's the other obvious one, scoring-wise, but that should be a good learning curve for New Orleans. Dallas versus Utah. We've had a head start so far. It's currently 1-0 for Utah. I picked this series. I went Utah 4-2. I think the Luka absence will be costly. I take the gamble that he's going to be out more than 1 week. Look, I don't like calves, bro. When you hurt your calf, we saw it with Kevin Durant a couple of years ago. You rush back, it can then jeopardize your ankle, your Achilles, or your foot, or your plantar fascia. I don't like guys rushing back from that. He's their franchise. He's their future. I doubt they rush him back, but, Luka's a competitive dude, so he might want to come back earlier than they say. That's what I'm hedging towards with my pick for Utah 4-2. I think that they're just going to struggle to score at times. You lose a guy like Luka, any team loses a guy like that. You're at the drawing board trying to figure out where you can get some points on the board. And we saw that in game one. Any game under 100 favors Utah heavily. Dallas really struggled to score without Luka. In game one, Mitchell was 10 for 29 for 32 points. He had 30 of those in the second half. So a poor shooting night for him. Brunson, 9 for 24 for his 24 points. But obviously without Luka, those guys are going to have to fire a bit more. Rebounding was an interesting one in game one, Pro. Dallas went to small ball lineups. Utah stayed strong with Rudy in the middle, 53-34 rebounding. Now, Dallas is not going to get it done with those kind of counts, even with a small ball lineup. If you go small and you lose a rebound count by 5, 6, 10 max, you still got a chance. You lose it by 20, you're not going to win. So, yeah, I'm 4-2. I think even if Dallas potentially get Luka back late in the series, I mean, my concern in playoffs is the momentum. He might shift the momentum maybe for a game, but if they're down 3-1 or whatever it is, 2-1 and he comes back, you still got to shift that momentum. If anyone can do it, it is Luka, but that's a concern I have. I would not have picked Utah with Luka out. I think Utah's been horrid in the last month of the season. I wouldn't have given them a chance with Luka healthy, but I think they can steal this series. I think the small ball lineups will continue to be key. If they're trying to get Rudy out of the game, it's going to be that chess piece, Quinn versus J. Kidd, who does what. Rudy only had 1 field goal attempt in game one, Pro. Got most of his points for the line. I think he only had a handful of points, but had a number of rebounds. They kept him in for 30 minutes, though. My players that need to step up, I think, for Utah, I think it's a Donovan Mitchell, Jordan Clarkson 1-2 scoring punch. I think Mitchell needs to to score at a better clip than he did in game one. I think Clarkson's that X factor for him off the bench, because when they dry up, their offense is very stagnant, very robotic. Clarkson, when he plays well off the bench for him, they usually win games. And then with the Dallas Mavericks, my guy is your guy, Brunson. I think he's going to have a series. He has to have a series. The other one might be Dinwiddie, but I think Brunson's going to have a much better game than he did in game one, 9 for 24. Brunson's regular season, 16, 5 and 4 a night. That's probably going to go up to 25 and 8 for them to have a chance to be in this series when Luka hopefully does return. So that's where I'm at with that series. What do you have?
Yeah, Bogues, I mean, I really still worry about... Now, I have Dallas winning 4-3, even without Luka. Utah is fucking dumpster fire, and I'm still trying to figure out why. They almost shit-fucked away this game. I mean, they cut it to like 2 really late, and they had 2 good chances at trying to get... I think Maxi Kleber missed a 3 in the corner. Maybe Dorian, Finney Smith, or somebody missed a shot before that, and they had a chance to take leads, and they had the game. They had the game won. They were up 10 in the fourth, and they still almost blew it. I don't know what's going on there. It's really strange with Dallas. Look, obviously without Luka, it's going to be a big problem, but their shot making, they play hard, they defend, they play well. They just don't have enough scoring in the sense that they don't have enough guys to go to that can get them baskets. They got Brunson, they got Dinwiddie, and that's really about it. Now, to me, for any chance for them to do well, they need another guy. They need somebody else to step up besides, because regardless if it's volume shooting or they're going to be efficient, Brunson and Dinwiddie are going to score close to 20 apiece. Dorian Finney-Smith, in my opinion, is going to have to really elevate his game offensively. He's scoring. He's not the isolation type. I think anybody will tell you that. He's a shot maker, and he does, he's really improved his shooting, but he really needs to be a guy that they can go to when they, what's going to happen. They're going to double Brunson. They're going to get him out, get him off the ball, and then someone else is going to have to make a play. And I think, Smith is a good passer, but he really needs to up his offense. He averaged 10 and 5 and 2 this year, throughout the year, but he really needs to be that next guy that could score, because how the game plan stuff's going to go game to game. They're going to try to take certain people away, and just assume that Luka's not going to come back. And even if he does, I agree. I don't think that. And even if he does, it's probably going to be one of those things where he does really well, and then he's going to pay the price for it physically and maybe not be able to go for another game or 2. In my opinion, I'm not a fucking doctor. I have no idea, but it's just sort of a feel. You've seen enough of these calf injuries without knowing exactly how the severity of it. That's going to be tough. And, Utah, look, I still think Utah could be good. It's hard. Bogdanovich was rolling early. Donovan Mitchell didn't have much of a first half at all. Conley kept him in it. But I think for them to win, I think Jordan Clarkson needs to be that guy. I think Donovan Mitchell's always going to get his 28, 30, 32 points. But, and Bogdanovich is going to get his. But I think for this team to really go anywhere, it's going to be on the shoulders of Jordan Clarkson, really being an efficient scorer, somebody they can go to, and just continuously be that somebody they could rely on to be efficient, make shots, make plays, but be really efficient on the offensive end. I still think Dallas can win this. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think they have to. The biggest thing is, how this stuff goes, Bogues. You're undermanned. You play really well down to the wire, and then that's it. That's the highest point you get to. After you lose the first one, get punched in the face, then they sometimes they never recover from it.
Yeah, that's when the series starts, when someone gets punched in the face. But to your point about Dallas, someone else needs to step up. The other one is Bertans. He's got to provide something for him. I mean, he wasn't good in game one, didn't score much, didn't do many shots, but they brought him in that trade. Obviously, it was a throw-in to match salaries, but he needs to be that guy that needs to have a 5 for 6 3-point night in this series a few times, or even just be able to be out there for 20 to 30 minutes to provide floor spacing. But he's obviously a net zero defensively or a minus, but they need him out there hitting threes. That's why they got him in the lineup. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Utah is just so clunky. Just don't know what to expect from him. And the reason why I picked Donovan Mitchell is one of mine. I think we know what he brings. I think he has to do it at a reasonable clip for them to win. He can't keep going 10 for 29. They were very, very lucky to win this game. It took a big three by Royce O'Neal, if I can get that out properly, 92-91 at the time for Utah. Hits that three with a minute remaining and sealed the game. But they could have easily lost that game, and then the series could be a whole different talking point. So I think it will be a good series. So I'm interested to see how it goes, and hopefully Luka can come back. But I don't. If it was a back for Luka or a hip, I'd probably be more confident because you can shoot that up and come back, and it's really not going to cause you too many other issues if you play through it. The calf, there's so much risk there. There's so much risk.
You ever do a calf, Bogues?
No, I've never done a soft tissue, funnily enough. For as much as I've been injured, it's usually just, I do it properly when I do it, when I get hurt, I really go the hard yards of a car accident type injury, so I make sure that I'm out for a while.
Good job, brother.
Yeah,
Good job.
I just worry about calves, man. Like I saw it with Kevin Durant. I've seen it with other guys. They're never a 7-day recovery, man. It's usually at least 10 to 14 days, if not more. So we'll watch that space. All right, Golden State Warriors versus Denver. Denver is 3-1 in the season series now. Can't look too much into that. They had a back-to-back towards the end of the season where they sent their whole bench mob and didn't send their starters. So you can't look too much into it, but Denver up 3-1, which helps their confidence. I got Golden State 4-2. I think even with a half-healthy Steph, which is looking like they're saying he's going to be ready for game one, but I assume he'll be on a minute limit for about 20-odd minutes, I think their championship merit will show in this series. I think Denver are depleted when you look at their roster. I think this is as far as Jokic will take them. He's at an MVP caliber year. I mean, the question marks, DG is going to play some 5 and guard Jokic. Will he do that without a double? Who knows? I think they'll probably send some help down there, especially if Draymond's in foul trouble. Will Klay have a series? Now, Klay's recovering from an injury. He's been on record about trying to get back into the feel for his body. He said that, defensively he hasn't been as good as he was previously because he just doesn't have legs. This will help him. I know the games are in Denver with the altitude, but usually playoff games, 2 to 3 day break between games will help him immensely. No back-to-backs, no extra traveling. So I think that's going to help Klay get his legs back. With Steph healthy, who starts? Does Paul then go back to the bench because he's had a hell of a last month or two? That's a question they're going to ask, because you got Steph, you got Klay, Draymond. They'll start Looney on Jokic just so there's no foul trouble, and then you have Wiggins at the 3. I think if you start Poole and put Wiggins on the bench, you're not going to get much from Wiggins. He's had a horror last 2 months, hasn't played great, so I think you keep him in the starting lineup, bring Poole off. So I know there's a lot of people asking those questions. For me, Klay's my guy. I think with a ginger Steph, a Steph that's kind of on a minute limit, Klay's got a fire. He's got to go. He's 20 a night off the injury in the regular season, which is still pretty decent. I mean, he's had some bad shooting clips, but 20 a night's 20 a night. I think you'll see him up that at a better clip for them to cruise through that series. And Denver, I don't really need to say anything about who the X factor is there. I mean, Jokic is 29, 12, and 8.5 assists on the season. He's got to, he's almost got to go, 30, 10, and 10 a night, 30, 15, and 10 a night for them to try to win games. I just don't think they have enough. They've got, two odd players in their starting lineup that would have been bench guys, and now you've got fringe bench guys that are 10, 11, 12 guys that are, first off the bench just because of their injuries. So I think Denver will lose this 4-2, Pro. Now, what do you have? You're going to shock us. You're going to shock the world, aren't you?
I'm not much of a shock of a world fan, but I think Denver's going to win this series. It's funny because I always get screwed on this stuff. Like, I go by how the team's playing up into the tournament, up into the playoffs. And Golden State's just been so up and down, and mostly down. And Denver's been like, they've been steady. They've been winning. They've been, look, Jokic is putting up fucking Wilt Chamberlain numbers, and I get it. Like it's they've been playing well. I think that Denver's going to win 4-2. Now, maybe because of playoffs and experience, that Curry and those guys are just going to turn it back on. The problem is, for me, I haven't seen it consistently throughout the second half of the year, with the injury to Steph and then Klay to try to find his legs. And, obviously we understand that. I think Denver, just with their mentality, their toughness, knock on wood, as long as Jokic stays healthy, I think that they could have a chance here. I actually have, for Golden State, it's all about Steph and Klay. It's all about Steph and Klay as far as can they Can they get consistent enough to take this team to another level? I think for Golden State to win, in my opinion, Wiggins has to step up. Like Wiggins has to be the guy, regardless of how Clay and Steph's doing. This has been his whole career problem. In big games, in my opinion, Wiggins hasn't stepped up. In big situations where he needed to really take his game to another level, I think, that he hasn't really shown that. He's had a really good year. He's turning a corner, all-star, all that. And I think that you could really solidify your career by having great playoff series and a great run in the playoffs. And I think that that's for any player. We look back at last game with Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan could really, cement his, sort of his name in the game by, look, you're an all-star and all that, but you're not really anointed that until you really could carry a team to playoffs. So I think for Golden State to win and to do well, I think Wiggins really has to be that guy. And I think, to be honest, for Denver to win, to have a chance, I'm going to go with co-players. I'm going to go with Gordon. Aaron Gordon really has to be that next person that, when Jokic gets doubled, to be able to kick out, make shots, make plays, and to be able to really step his game up and really step his scoring up. And I'll tell you what, I think, who else I think could have a really good series, Bogues, is DeMarcus Cousins. I think DeMarcus Cousins, like taking Looney on the block, taking Draymond on the block, like using that size and really going big, like when Jokic comes out of the game, and really just continuing to pound him in. Look, he's limited, quote unquote, a shell of himself where he used to be. I get all that. But I'll tell you what, when you go down low to him, even in this year, last year, what have you, when he got opportunities, I thought he's done well. Now, look, is he going to put up 20 and 20? Fuck no. But if you can give him small patches of minutes and really go down to him, and when they switch 1 to 5 and 1-5 pick and rolls and be able to punish guys down low, I think that he needs. I think Gordon definitely needs to be that guy, but I think Cousins, if he gets opportunity to play in this series, I think they could really take advantage of that.
You think Denver plays those two at the same time at all?
Cousins, no, I don't think. I haven't watched them enough to see if they have.
But against Golden State, just try. Because they're going to Golden State's going to go uber small at some point. Do you just try to say, what, we're going to try to counter it with something strange you haven't seen before? If they're down in the series or they're not playing well, it might be worth a shot, and you just post up whoever that small four is guarding.
It's funny, when Carlisle last year was struggling. When they were struggling, they put Boban in the game. Yeah. And Boban fucking killed people.
Yeah, I remember that.
Every time Boban. Yeah, and I think that, seriously, I don't think you could do it over a 40-minute span in a game.
No way.
But, yeah, I think you could play it in patches and really be effective in small patches. And I think Cousins, look, one thing Cousins can do is score on that fucking block. And he could really, he could really put you in harm's way trying to guard the guy. At least get in foul trouble and go at Draymond. Like, Draymond gets a quick foul, quick two. Like, fucking put him in the game, go down to him again, and just fucking force, Draymond to guard you and to see what happens. I don't know. Who the fuck knows? Maybe he doesn't. But I think Aaron Gordon really needs to play well in this series too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that for sure, and I think it'll be a fun series to see. A lot of people have Golden State coming out of the West completely, which is a big call. So we'll see how that one goes. All right, Memphis and Minnesota just finished not long ago. Head start is 1-0 for Minnesota. They steal home court in game one. I have this in the regular season 2-2 in this series. I'm picking Memphis 4-2, so I haven't changed my picks according to these games changing. These are the picks that we've posted yesterday on our socials. I had, Cat I had in my preview as the X factor in this series, and I based that as it's going to be a tough guard for Steven Adams. It's Cat. I've guarded Cat before, and man, he's not a traditional center. He can do a lot of different things. He's very, very quick off the dribble. He can post you. He can shoot the three. He can put it on the floor. So that, he's 25 and 10 a night during the regular season. He comes out tonight and has 29 and 13. Edwards had 36. Memphis had patches where they really dried up. I felt like it was Utah-esque, some of their offensive sets. It just looked like it was very stagnant, and it was kind of like, here, you do something with it, here, you do something with it. It just looked janky, and that's a welcome to the playoffs as a 2 seed. They need to now go to the film room and adjust, and Jenkins has got to get into some guys and, all their grind, and we're going to, outmuscle them. I think Minnesota just kicked their ass. Beverly was great defensively, hit a big three late in the game. Not many are giving him a chance pre-series, but I thought they'd steal a couple of games for sure, because I still think they're a pretty talented team, and it's a bad matchup for Memphis in my opinion. They've got enough horses on that team to guard the athleticism of Memphis. They've got Beverly, who's going to get up and in Morant, try to get in his head, mess with him. And like I said, Adams is a big part of what they do toughness-wise, but I don't think he'll be on the floor much this series. So that's where I go that way. Look, Memphis seemed like a focus bunch, grit and grind of the old school with a great mix of youth and veterans, but I think Minnesota have that as well, arguably. So that's going to be interesting. I think Memphis to fire, Ja Morant's their guy. He's 28, 6 and 6 a game. They're pretty balanced with their scoring, but so are Minnesota. So my two keys are for them to get out of this series. Ja Morant's got to have, he's 28, 6 and 6 the regular season. He's probably going to go 30, 10 and 5 this series for them to get out. And for Minnesota, Cat's got to continue the run that he started game one in. So that's my take on that series. Pro, what do you have?
Look, Minnesota's been good. I mean, they've been good, especially the second half of the year. They were one of the hottest teams in the league, in my opinion. I mean, they really upped their game. They really played well. They did a really good job. Coaching staff did an unbelievable job being, keeping those guys prepared. I thought the young guys played well. Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns were carrying them, but Anthony Edwards played really well as well. I think that, for them to have a chance to really go to elevate their game, I really think that Anthony Edwards needs to be that guy. Karl Anthony Towns, you're going to expect that from. You're going to expect his 26 and 10 or what have you, and just keep going and going and going. Now, obviously, he didn't have a great game in the playoffs. In the play-in, whatever. But I think Anthony Edwards really needs to be that guy. It's his first run in the playoffs. I think to solidify himself as one of the best young players in the league, I think he has to be that guy. I think obviously Russell and Towns are going to make their marks, but I think that he needs to be that guy that really, gives him that 25 points, being really efficient, being able to be a guy who could make plays off the dribble, but also, consistently make shots. I'm sorry, I did pick Memphis to win 4-2, but I'm not surprised by Minnesota's great play today. I think for Memphis, look, they grinded it out all year. They played well. They played tough. They got so many players that could hurt you. I agree with you. I think Ja Morant really needs to, to really be the factor. But I also think Jaren Jackson Jr. really needs to, they're going to expect Bane to score. They're going to expect Brooks to score, and Ja Morant to do his thing. But I think Jaren Jackson, again, it's all about what you do in the playoffs, in my opinion, and as well as the media's opinion. And I think that for him to solidify himself as that guy, to really up his value, I think he needs, the team needs him, but also he needs to do it himself. But I think Jaren Jackson's has to be that guy as well. I still expect Memphis to win the series, but it might be a 6 or a 7 gamer, and it's not the end of the world when you lose a game and you lose your game in your home court, but you gotta, you can't overreact. You got to get back. Coaches got to figure it out in the film room. Players got to hold themselves accountable, and they got to figure out, again, I think the key to being successful as a player and a team in this league is to find out why you won and find out why you lost. Find out, the reason why you played well or why you didn't play well. Fix it, and then go out and make those adjustments. And, they'll do that. I still think Memphis will win the series.
Yeah, I agree. I still think they should win the series, but we've all been wrong before. And I think it's been it's going to be a few of these series are going to be hard to pick in this playoffs, which is what you want. You want these coin flip type things and some things that aren't the norm and don't go a certain way. And I think that's sensational for the team. So that's our West. Moving on to the East, Miami versus Atlanta. Miami won the season series 3-1. I think this is going to go 4-1 for the Miami Heat. I think Atlanta possibly steal a game. Just one of those game 3, game 4. Miami don't come out right. They might get one of those games. Maybe they get one at home. Maybe they get 2, but I'm going 4-1. Hawks second in offensive rating for the season. Miami 4th on defensive rating. So it's a clash of the Titans, a clash of the opposites. But Miami defensively will be a level Atlanta will definitely feel that they haven't felt for a while. So I think they're going to be up and in. They have a lot of different, guys that guard on that team. So I I'll be interested to see how that goes, but I don't think many people give. I've seen some people actually pick Atlanta as an upset, but I just don't buy it. I'm not sold on Miami to championship, but I think they get out of this series pretty unscathed. They're very deep and balanced, Miami. I think they have a lot of candidates, but I think they go as far as Bam takes them pro, 19, 10, and 3 a night. I think he's, with Capella out now, I think he has a series they get through pretty easily, and he does a lot of things for him. Jimmy Butler's kind of streaky scoring-wise. They have Hero off the bench, but I think when Bam has good nights for him, they really excel. Atlanta's the obvious one. Trae Young, I think, he fires, they have a chance. He has a series. He's 28 and 10 for the season, which is pretty good numbers, but he fires and, he has a couple of 40-point nights. They can maybe get 2 or 3 games and make it a series, but I think this is going to be pretty routine for Miami Pro. Thoughts?
I agree with you. I agree. I have him at 4-0. I don't think I think with Capella is going to be a little bit limited with his knee, in my opinion, although I'm not a doctor and I don't have any information or intel, but I think this will be a pretty standard, victory. I think it'll be a sweep by Miami. I just think that Miami's sort of playing well at the end of the year after that little blow up they had, on the sidelines. I think that they've been playing well. They're tough. They've been playing together. I don't think Atlanta has much of a chance. A Trae Young's going to go off. He'll attempt a lot of shots. I don't know how he'll do, but he has to play really well. I'll tell you, Bogdanovich will get his. I think Trae will get his. But I think the third guy that really needs to be a sort of a difference maker, because everybody's going to be expecting those 2 guys to do it. Kevin Huerter's got to really step his game up. I mean, he bent me over without even taking me to dinner first in my fantasy season, and he was fucking awful all year. And he's been inconsistent all year. He really needs to be a shot maker. They're going to be doubling Trae, getting the ball out of his hands. The ball is going to be swung to him. He's got to be able to make a play. He's got to be able to make a play, and I think he's got to be able to step up. Bogdanovich will have big games. Trae's going to have big games, but he's going to really they need to get something from somewhere else. Gallinari has been up and down, but they really need it, I think, from they're going to get it from those 2. Huerter's going to have to be a guy that steps up. For Miami, they've been playing well. I mean, they've been playing tough. You expect it from Jimmy, you expect it from Bam. I really think Tyler Hero really needs to have a good playoff series. He played great in the bubble 2 years ago in their finals run. He didn't play as great last year, in the playoffs, in their early exit. This year, he's been phenomenal, probably going to be, 6th man of the year, averaging 25 and 4. But I think that he needs to really be the guy that's consistently giving them 20, I would say even close to 25 a night, and being that guy that just consistently gives them that energy, shot making, play making, out of the second unit.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think Miami is just so deep. It's hard to circle one guy, but Heroes, when they dry up, you can bring a guy like that, a la Jordan Clarkson off the bench. They have a series. They can single-handedly come in and have a quick 20, which is very, very important. All right, Boston and Brooklyn. I have Boston 4-3 now. I'm going on a bit of a flyer. I think Boston are the underdog, even though they're the higher seed. And the Celtics 3-1 versus Brooklyn in the regular season. Like I said, I don't take too much weight into that because there's a lot of bullshit going on during the regular season with COVID and injuries and all that kind of shit. Celtics switch more than most teams in the NBA Pro, which forces the other team to play a lot of one-on-one. Brooklyn love one-on-one pro, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how tactical Boston get there. I think they will at times get the ball out of KD and Kyrie's hands when they have to. I think it's just going to be a 1-5 switch all game. Brooklyn ranked 20th in defense, Boston number 1. Now, Brooklyn, KD can single-handedly carry this team to the finals. That's my guy that I'm picking. He's 30 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists a night in regular season. He's just, like I said, numerous times, and everyone's sick of hearing it. I think he's the best scorer on any all-around scorer, I think, to ever play the game. As far as get me a bucket on and pick a spot blindfolded on the floor, he can get you a bucket. So they go as far as he takes them. The Celtics, I picked 2 guys, Tatum and Brown, for this series as the guys that will get him to the next round, and not for the reasons most would think. I think offense, we know what they bring. Not worried about that. They're both going to have a crack at guarding KD.
I think Marcus Smart will get Kyrie for most of the night. I don't think they go Marcus Smart too much on KD. They might for a little bit try to put a fire out and see how it goes. He's just too undersized, and I think they'll just put KD on the elbow or the extended post. But Tatum and Brown are going to have to tag team defensively, KD, and how they, Tatum not known to play defense, Brown much better, but they're going to have, Tatum's going to be average to above average and Brown's going to be elite with just making, KD's going to make shots. He's going to make tough shots, 1 foot fallbacks, step back threes. It's just what he does. He's an elite shot maker. Just make it hard for him, a la what PJ Tucker did in that Milwaukee series last season. So those two guys defensively need to have a series. And they've got a chance to get through. But I'm going Boston. You're Boston Celtics pro 4-3. What do you got?
I got Brooklyn 4-2. And look, and I loved how Boston played in the second half of the year. But I'll tell you what, though. I mean, now you got to play Kyrie and Kevin Durant. And I think Kevin Durant's the best player in the league. I don't care about how many games. I'm not talking about MVP voting or anything like that. But I think he's the best player in the league. He's the hardest guy to cover. There's plenty of hard guys to cover in the league, but he could score in any way, shape, or form. And the guy's he's a juggernaut as far as just, putting the team on his back and being able to carry him. And with Kyrie and him and sort of doing it their thing, I think that, look, Boston's one of the best, defensive teams in the league. And I think it's going to be a really tough series. But I really do think that, facing these two guys on a consistent basis in a series, it's going to be really, really tough to stop. I think for them to really have a chance, I think Andre Drummond really needs to play well, in my opinion. I think that he needs to be, that guy, that roller, that screen setter, that rebounder, and be consistent. I was going to say Seth Curry. It needs to be a third sort of guy. Everything's going to be geared towards Kyrie and Kevin Durant. I think Drummond really needs to sort of step his game up and be consistent. Now, I haven't watched Brooklyn in a few games, so Last year, I did this whole thing on a player for, I think, Winslow for Memphis, and the fucking guy didn't play the whole series. So hopefully I'm not putting my foot in my mouth again with Drummond. But I think that Curry, I was gonna say but Seth, he's gonna be consistent shooting and doing his thing. But I really think if Drummond can up his game and be consistent defensively, stay out of foul trouble, be an elite rebounder and an elite rim protector, I think that just catch anything, because they're going to double early. They're going to get the ball out of their hands and be able to lob, be able to drive to the basket. The help steps up out of the dunker. He just steps in, being able to just be a consistent finisher, just consistent player. I think that, for them to have a chance, it's got to be there. I think with Boston, look, Boston's so good defensively. They're supposed to be getting Robert Williams back. They say hopefully in the first round of the, in the playoffs in this series at some point. I think Jason Tatum just needs to be that consistent player, that consistent scorer. And he's been so good second half of the year. I was very hard on him first half of the year, but I think he just needs to step up on both ends of the floor and be consistent. Don't live on a steady diet of tough shots, early shot clock, early game clock. For them to have a chance at the title, which a lot of people think that they're a dark horse to get to the finals, if not win it. And it wouldn't surprise me the way they played in the second half of the year. But for them to do that, Tatum really needs to take a look and say, look, I could score at any point, at any spot on the floor, but I just gotta really be focused on being as efficient as I can and score 27, not on 29 shots, but if he could score that 27 to 32 points, do it on 16 shots, 17 shots, get to the free throw line, defend without fouling, and be that guy, not only that could score 30 to 35 a night, but does it efficiently. I think that they're going to go a long way. They're going to go a long way. So I still think Brooklyn's going to win the series. I'm not going to bet against Kevin Durant, and then Kyrie playoffs run himself. So I predict Brooklyn in 6.
Okay, fair enough. It's good. We're going contra. Philly, Toronto just finished game 1. It is 1-0 for Philly. Tyrese Maxey with a game, 38 points on 14 for 21 shooting, 5 of 8 from 3. Amazing. Joel Embiid didn't really have much of a game like he's used to, 5 for 15 from the field. He still had 19 and 15, but it just wasn't a game that he usually dominates from his MVP form. Tobias Harris, also a really good game, 26 points, 9 for 14, 3 for 5 from 3. Really good mix. Harden was 6 for 17. So the two stars didn't fire, Pro. They shot poorly from the field and they still snuck over and got that. Not snuck over, they belted Toronto 131 and 111. Toronto just looked a bit shell-shocked. Van Vliet was probably one of their better players offensively, 7 for 12 for 18 points, but Siakam 9 for 18 for 24 points. Pretty balanced usually as they are, but just didn't have enough, and they did go small ball for a lot of the game. So that's what I wanted to get into here. I picked Toronto, much like yourself. I thought this was going to be the upset. I'm just not sold on Philly, but maybe we made the mistake. But Raptors were 3-1 in the regular season. I'm going Toronto 4-2. Like I said, how small ball does Nurse go with Embiid out there? That's the question. They went real small today and they sent a double from the weak side at times. They dug a lot. They got the ball out of his hands, but it left Tobias Harris, it left Tyrese Maxey on a swing wide open for feet set threes. So I wonder if they make an adjustment there, or they live with the series playing out that way and saying, okay, if Harris and Tyrese Maxey beat us, we live with that. Matisse Thybulle played very, very well for him, defensively especially. He was the usual nuisance that he is on that end of the floor. Now, people might look at a stat sheet and say, oh, he was 1 for 1, didn't score much, blah, 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 but he's solid for him defensively. He came off the bench, which is, he started for the most part this season, and I think that is because he cannot play in Toronto, Pro, so that's a somewhat X factor. He's a big part of what they do, defensively especially. He's probably their best perimeter defender, him and Danny Green. But he can't play in Toronto, obviously. So I wonder if that affects the series a little bit. I think it's smart for them to bring him off the bench, even in home games, because you don't want him starting and then not, and then starting and then not. I think it junks up your lineups. So that'll be interesting to see with how they go in Toronto, if they can steal momentum. And we know that crowd up there and that environment. Even we've spoken about traveling there is a pain in the ass. So maybe they can salvage a series there. But it looked pretty clear that Philly were focused in game one. I had, the MVP candidate. You can't take away from what Embiid has done. If they go into the finals, it's through Embiid. I think if they have more games like they did today, where it's Maxey or Harris having to carry him, I don't think they're going to go into a final series. Embiid led the league in scoring, first big man since I think 2000. I think it was at 32.6, which we'll get to a little bit later. Toronto look very, very well balanced team, but I think Van Vliet's the guy. He's going to be that Trae Young / Steph Curry on that team, where he has a couple of nights where he goes for 35 and 10 or 30 and 8, and if they can cause an upset, he's going to be the guy. He's 19-6 in the regular season. I think Siakam's proven himself as one of their better scorers. A few other guys are pretty balanced, but he's got to have an elite series for them to get through this one. But I'm going to stick with 4-2 for Toronto and probably be proven wrong, but we'll see how we go. Pro, what do you have?
Yeah, I had the same thing, Bogues. I think we're lock, stock, and barrel with that. I thought Toronto, especially in Toronto, so tough to beat. They could steal at least one game. I predicted stealing one game. I thought they would steal today, but I thought they'd steal one game from Philly. And then, they're so tough to beat it there in Toronto. We talked about it, like you mentioned. But I was a little shocked that they got blown out like they did. Although it's early, it's one game. This is what the coaches get paid for, to sort of make adjustments. And, like we said, Nick Nurse wears a hat with his initials on it. So, he could back that up by making great adjustments in game 2. But
you love the hat.
I love the hat, man. No, I do. I got bust balls about it, but I think it's ballsy, because he's a prick. I coached against him in the D League when he was in 2009. I thought he's like arrogant, but like he knows what he's doing. He's a fucking really good coach, and everybody speaks highly of his coaching. And I think he backs it up. He does do a good job coaching his team. So I expect more. I expect a little more out of them in the series. With Philly, look, like I do like when superstars struggle in the playoffs and see other players step up, and that's what this playoffs is all about. And you expect Embiid to have that 30, 32, 33 in like 15 nights, and Harden to do his thing, but to have guys like Tobias Harris and Maxey step up, it's just great to see. Because they're not going to be on every night. Those two guys are not going to be on every night. You expect them to, but it just happens that they don't. So there's going to have to be other shot makers, other playmakers, and they got to be able to do something else. I think, but I do think if if Philly's going to make it, obviously it's going to run through Embiid, but I think Maxey does have to have a good series because, again, everything's going to be keyed on Embiid and Harden. They're going to get the ball out of their hand, and they're going to have to, the ball's going to be swung to either Harris or Maxey, and they're going to have to be able to make a play. And that's the thing. And that's why it's important that a lot of these young players and role players get minutes throughout the season and get reps throughout the season. So now when the ball gets swung to them, they could actually make a play and at least attempt to. So I think that's a big deal. With Toronto, Van Vliet has to really be that guy, or Scotty Barnes, even though it's his rookie year, he's going to have to step up. Again, everything's going to go defensively against Siakam and Van Vliet, But anyway, I think that Scotty Barnes has to be that guy. I think, when the ball gets out of those guys' hands, I think that Scotty Barnes is going to have to step up and make plays. OG
Anunoby.
Yeah, fuck. Obi-Wan Kenobi has to do, but one of those two guys is going to have to step up. I think Bonds, as a rookie, you don't expect a lot, out of your first playoff series, but, fuck it, put your big boy pants on, and do something. I think for them to win, and that has to have another player step up. And I think Bonds has to be that guy.
Yeah, fair enough. He had a decent game one, but yeah, they got to find something from somewhere, and we'll see. Nick Nurse is supposed to be the guru for adjustments, so that's what I picked it on. I picked it on the hat too, Pro. So hopefully he can prove us right. All right, Milwaukee versus Chicago, the final game in our playoff wrap. Season series was 4-0 for the Bucks. They've gone on something like I think they're 12-1 or it's 12-0 in their last 12 or something like that. When Giannis plays, I think it's ridiculous. Like it's 95%. So they've pretty much owned Chicago the last 4 or 5 years. Questions for me. I mean, if I have this series, I have this as a sweep. I think this is the best candidate series to go for a sweep. I have them 4-0. Who guards Giannis is my question. I just don't think they have anyone that can guard Giannis. Not many teams do, but I don't think they have the bodies and the brood at the basket. You need some. Sometimes you need a big back there to be able to verticality and clog up the paint. And I think that's when Giannis can sometimes be slowed with big, strong, physical guys in the paint and guys with size. But they don't really have that. DeRozan, for me, needs, he's going to be my guy that I picked for the Bulls, the obvious one. He's had an All-NBA year. He needs first half of regular season DeRozan just to make it a series in every game. He needs that in every game. He was 28-5-5 in the regular season. He's got to do that or better for them to not get swept, in my opinion. I think it is a huge potential for a sweep series for you bettors out there. I think this is the one that might go that way. Giannis is the obvious one for Milwaukee. There's a few other players that can have a vital role, but looking at the numbers, Chicago are absolutely owned by Giannis whenever he plays them. They had that little rivalry, remember, 4 or 5 years ago, Pro? Remember when Giannis ran through Mike Dunleavy Jr. and took him out? I think he got hit by Dunleavy Jr. at one point, was frustrated, sprinted up the court. Dunleavy Jr. had a 3-point shot in the corner and just ran straight through him, pushed him into the front row. Ever since then, Giannis has owned Chicago, so who knows if that was the reason. But Giannis at 30 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists a night in the regular season. I don't think they have anyone to slow him down. And even if they do have someone to slow him down, I think Milwaukee's just way too deep for Chicago to make this a series, especially considering the injuries that Chicago have. They've got a half-baked Caruso who's just come back and hasn't really found form since that injury. Ball's out, so I think they have some issues to deal with there. But, I mean, look, a successful series for Chicago, a season for Chicago, I believe, even though they dropped a ton of shit from the top to the bottom of the East as the season wore on. But I didn't really expect them to do too much. I thought the roster was janky from the start. So I think it's a good starting point for them. They can make some tweaks in the offseason, but unfortunately, they're getting sweet, Pro.
Yeah, I actually had I thought they were going to finish in the top 4 or 5 in the East for some reason. Beginning of the year, I liked the team that they had. I'm a big fan of Ball. Obviously DeRozan and Levine, you expect them to really score. But I like Ball. I thought Patrick Williams was a good young player that could really develop into a Norman Powell type, scorer at some point. But he got hurt. He was hurt for a decent amount of the year. But obviously they fell short. I remember that stat you gave me about record-wise against good teams. And hey, look, proof is in that. I mean, you can't really lie and fabricate that, the record against good teams. For Milwaukee, look, they've had their ups and downs like a lot of the teams this year. I think Giannis obviously is going to do his thing. I think for them to really have a chance, not only in this playoff series, but going forward, Chris Middleton really, he was a little inconsistent in my opinion this year, at times. I mean, he averaged 20 a game, still like 26-6, but I think he really needs to be a consistent scorer. They're going to try to get the ball out of Giannis's hands, anytime, I think any team they face. And he's going to really need to be able to make plays consistently and really, really give him that consistent second score to really be able to take over games just in case something happens, foul trouble. They do a good job defensively trying to get the ball out of his hands. So I think that sort of has to happen. For Chicago, look, DeRozan obviously has to really step up. I think Vucevic really has to be that guy. I think he really needs to be consistent. And he needs to really up his game. I mean, he rebounded well all year, 11.2 all year, but he really needs to, I think, up his scoring. They need another sort of, how's Levine been, Bogues? Has he been healthy the last, couple of weeks?
I
haven't really watched a lot of
I
Chicago.
think they were nursing him.
Yeah,
I think they were nursing him. But I think he's healthy enough. Whether they have to shoot him up or do whatever they got to do. But yeah, he should be in the lineup fine.
Yeah, I don't expect much out of Chicago, unfortunately. My other group chat of my boys gives me shit all the time. They're Boston guys, so I was giving them shit about Chicago being better than Boston this year all year. And then now that I'm picking them losing the first round, I'm gonna get a load of fucking shit. But hey, it's definitely well owed. Those guys did not play well against good teams. I think, just like Dallas, one of their best players that had the ball in their hands all the time, not as good as Luka, obviously, but Ball is hurt, right? Like this year has been a success in some ways. They got to get healthy. They got to just retool for next year. They'll be okay. I don't expect a huge upset here. Just like Dallas, like I wouldn't even fuck around with that shit with Luka. Like if it's 50-50 or 40-60, wait till next year. Don't fuck things up. Don't, medically just sort of let them play because they're going to be fine. Just like Chicago, they're going to be fine. I think Ball is one of the best passers in the league. He's not, he's got his faults like a lot, but I think without Ball, without that passing and that playmaking, I think it's really hard to get those guys easy shots consistently, with Kobe White versus Lonzo Ball. Caruso, like you said, just coming back. So I don't expect much out of this. I expect Milwaukee. I think I had them 4-1.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm still in the game. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think if they're completely healthy, maybe they steal a game or two. But yeah, I think they just don't have enough. They're not deep enough. And just before we get to some news, Golden State Warriors for that starting lineup, Steph was off the bench, which is interesting. So they went Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Kevin Looney. I doubt that's going to be a long stay in the series, but they brought him off the bench. He's played 6 minutes so far at time of recording, hasn't taken a shot yet. In Denver, he's up 1 at the end of the first quarter. So an interesting series that will be. Moving on to the Luka Doncic conversation, Pro. We know what it is. We've discussed all that. But, my thing was he played in a dead rubber game, Pro, at the end of the season when I think there was still a possibility to get the third seed, but I think that got wrapped up when via a different result, whether it was Golden State or someone else. I think that got locked in before their game. The question was, why did Luka play? And why did he play regular minutes? And I understand it is hard as a coach. You're like, do we keep our rhythm? Do we, keep the momentum going of whatever's going on and not mess with the game and the basketball gods? But I think in this situation, Luka was already hurt during the season and numerous times, didn't come in shape, all that kind of stuff. I think with a guy like that just means so much to what you're doing, I think you got to yank him and pull him out and not play him in that game, Pro.
Yeah, Bogues, I have always thought that, like, that shit could happen at any time. A guy can get hurt. You don't expect him.
But you just got to minimize. Once you're locked into a seed and your team, especially Dallas, like he is Dallas, right? Like it's not like it's, look, I get Brooklyn, like Kyrie, and Kyrie goes down, you got KD, or KD goes down, you got Kyrie, and you know what I mean? But like Dallas is Luka Doncic. So it's like, even if it's a 0.00001% chance he gets hurt, I still probably take that and rest him, right? But you're right. It is, who knows? It could happen in the first minute of a playoff game, but shit, we're geniuses in hindsight.
No, I get it. It's just like, yeah, it's one of those things where, if he played, no one gave a fuck. If he didn't get hurt, nobody would have gave a fuck. If he gets hurt, now, what does he do? Like 98 stories about it. Yeah, I don't know, Bogues. Like, it's weird. Like, it's sort of like that old adage, like, wasting up for shoot around and play hard, have a great practice. And then somebody gets hurt, and then the head coach obviously is not going to take the heat for it. He's going to turn to the assistant. Why the fuck did you let these guys play? I always thought that was weird. Like, if a guy got hurt, I mean, it happens all the time in football. But yeah, you're right. If it's locked up, you probably should sit him. But I mean,
what do you do as head coach? You're the Dallas Mavericks head coach. Last game of the season, same situation. Pro's the coach. What do you do?
I sit. I don't even play him, to be honest.
Exactly.
Like the last game or two of the year. If I'm basically all set for either the 3 seed or the 4 seed, whatever, I know I'm getting home court. I'm just fucking sitting him. I'm like, that's me. But I don't know. Like, I don't play him. I mean, I don't know. But I would sit him for sure. What would you do? Would you play him and then yank him, or would you sit him?
I wouldn't play him. Now, like I said, if they were trying to really get that 3 seed, I think I might be wrong. Someone let me know, but I believe they couldn't really jump up from 4 to 3 anyway, because I think Golden State won at the time or something happened. But yeah, nothing. If it was nothing to play for, 100% don't play him, and you just got to have that conversation. Like I said, this is a guy that has been hurt the last couple of years at different times in the season, and you need him at the tail end of your season to get through a playoff series, which now could be in jeopardy. So just an interesting one, and I'm sure now Dallas are going to treat things differently in the future. But Dallas is generally a pretty progressive organization with that kind of stuff. I know when I was there, the rest thing was big. They really monitored it. They really monitored the weight room stuff. So I thought, it would have been a no-brainer that Cubes and the front office.
Did he say? Did Jason Kidd say why he played him? Like, did he needed the conditioning or whatever?
Not really.
I don't know.
I mean, you play because you play him.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it is what it is. It can, like you said, it can happen any time. But you minimize that risk by an iota for your star player. You take that opportunity. But also Ben Simmons rumored to be back late in the first round. We'll watch that space. That'll be interesting too, because it could change the lineup. You're 4 or 5 games into a series. Do you start him? Is he pissed if he doesn't start? There's a lot of different things that go in with that. John Collins rumored to be back for Game 1 Pro, which was interesting. If he's back for Game 1, it was like, why didn't he play in the plane if it's only a couple of days? But he might take some drugs or whatever to try and get into Game 1, which is a huge in for them, because they, Capella out already. They need a bit more athleticism in the 4 and 5. Zion Williamson, Pro, apparently he wanted to play. So a big shit fight between him and the front office there. He wanted to play in the playing games. He was only cleared for 1-on-0 on-court training sessions at a lighter pace a week or so ago. Hence the windmill video that we've all seen. That was a fuck you to the front office, apparently, and that's why it was recorded, because it was like, I'm good to go, let me go. And they're like, dude, you're still pretty large. You're still pretty overweight. You're recovering from a lower limb injury with that weight. We're not risking you to then be out next season too, and you've just been cleared for 1-on-0. So a bit of a shit fight between the front office and Zion again, shocker, which is almost a monthly occurrence.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I've heard some rumors about his family and him. They've been down on that front office since day one. For one reason or another, they've just been, medical team, front office, they've just haven't been fans. So it is a shit show. It's who's got the biggest Johnson, basically. Like, everybody wants to, sort of maneuver for position, doubting what doctors say or injuries. Is he really hurt? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know, man. If I'm them, I'm trade. Like, they just got to trade. Like, they got to figure something out.
Get away from it. Yeah.
To be honest, like, I might look to Portland to see if they want to do something like, I don't know, Valanciunas and him for Nurkic and, Dame Lillard. I mean, how about McCollum though? If he gets away, not it gets away, but it's
primary
basically
ball
like
handler scorer.
Yeah, and now fucking Lillard comes back. But imagine though, if I'm New Orleans, I'm like, wait a minute. All right, Zion, Valanciunas is very valuable, but if you can get Nurkic back, and then I don't even know if this trade works. I'm just throwing it in my head. But if like, Zion and Valanciunas, maybe you got to throw him something else. But then you get back Lillard. Like, he's got to go. And like, you got to trade him for your own sanity and for the kid's sanity. Let him go somewhere else. Let someone else deal with it. You just got to make sure you're going to get a star. Look, they're pretty good without him. Now, obviously, he makes them better. I'm not a huge Zion fan, but he makes them better. But they've been doing pretty well without him. Imagine if you can get something that could help your team for him.
And does it, even if Zion is healthy next season with what New Orleans is trying to build, momentum off this, they've surged to a playoff spot, learn from this series where they probably get walloped by Phoenix, but learn from it, build, maybe get a higher seed next season. Does he come in and fuck that all up again? That's the other question. He's going to be this. He's the loudest guy in the room, essentially, with the way he acts and portrays himself. So you worry about that as an organization. Sometimes that's got to be taken into account. Now, it ever rarely is taken into account with an all-NBA caliber player, but that could set you back too, And then don't forget, he could be out of there in a year or two anyway. Opts out and just leaves. So, they can get him on the qualifying offer and whatnot, but he's not going to sign the extension there. I would move off him this offseason if I could. I'd get maybe a couple of good players back and a couple of picks. Who knows? But that
would be unprecedented. That would be unprecedented to trade a guy in his rookie deal. I don't think it's been done before. Maybe Porzingis, they traded him the last year of that deal in New York, but that's one of the only ones I've ever heard of where a guy didn't sign his original rookie deal with his original team. That's that'll be interesting.
He's not going to stay, right? This is the thing. He's not going to. You do honestly think? What do you think the ratio is? He stays at 100%. That he signs an extension in New Orleans with all this shit going on. We've heard rumors he hates the front office. He didn't like the coach.
Yeah.
You think he's really going to stay there? I don't.
Bogues, I wouldn't. But with the Supermax stuff, Supermax, you gotta stay with the same team. You gotta stay with the same team. Now he won't deal with the Supermax. He'll lose out on the Supermax. But
extra year, right?
Got to more money with the original team. So I think here's my prediction. He signs it, and then after the first year, and then he's gone. He'll poison pill him. The first deal will be poison pilled in the sense that it'll be hard to trade. But I think that eventually they'll move him on. Now, maybe they do it before, who knows? But again, it's better if he's got a bigger salary, then you can move him. You don't have to get extra stuff moving out with him. He's got this big salary. You trade him for someone else with a big salary. Because I'll tell you what, they're not a developing team anymore. They are a team that's built for now. I mean, Ingram is a star in the league. McCollum's got his deal. Valanciunas, Jackson Hayes, and some of the other younger players they got, they're very good. So I think they've done a good job without this guy. And look, he's a good player, but again, he's the best player I've ever seen that can't dribble, pass, or shoot. He is the most effective player. He dominates athletically with his strength and his size. I mean, he's such a matchup nightmare, but he cannot dribble. He cannot I'm saying that he can't go by anybody. People say he's the next LeBron and all that. LeBron, if you ever saw him at 18 years old, LeBron was going by guys like they weren't even there. He's a guy that backs you down, and he can handle the ball, but doesn't really go anywhere. He's not a shooter, and he's not really a playmaker for other people, but the guy is productive. So if I'm them, sign his deal, move him the first microsecond that you can, and then just get whatever you get.
Yeah, I agree. Next one. Lakers are targeting Nick Nurse and or Mark Jackson and probably the rest of the league. Quinn Snyder as well is on the list pro. And apparently he's less interested after the way they treated Vogel, which is fair enough. But could that be a money driver? Who knows? But Mark Jackson firming as the favorite to take over the Lakers job, pro. Did you see this coming?
Didn't I text that to you the other day that I thought that he would be?
Well, he is now by betting. But I think on the betting, because you can bet on anything these days, he's the favorite.
Well, here's the thing. Nobody wants to coach the Lakers. No respectful coach in the league wants to coach the Lakers because they're not good. You got to have to deal with that whole shit show of things. Mrs. Rambis, Clutch, LeBron, all that stuff. And they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Like I said, the only way that they could really do anything is to stretch out Westbrook. Then you trade Horton to Horton Tucker, however the fuck his name is. You trade him into cap space for somebody else and don't get anything back. And you sign a third player for 20 plus million, whatever they'll have under the cap after that. That's the only way they could do anything. And even then, their benches are going to be very good. So
the roster is what it is. Yeah.
Right. So it is what it is. So the only ones who want to coach that are guys that it's a cash cow. They love LA, or they're desperate for a job.
Ticks the box on all three, Pro.
Mark Jackson is a clutch client. Nobody wants to touch him as a head coach because of what he did, the divide that he had and the shit show that he had in Golden State about, the divide he had between front office ownership and the coaching staff and players like that. I mean, he really, from what I've heard, he really turned that into, and I'm not even going to ask you because I don't even want you to talk about it, but I'll talk about it from what I've heard. And like, that's tough. So clutch client, he'll do whatever Clutch wants him to do. He wants a job. It's good money, and he gets to coach in the NBA. Nick Nurse ain't going to leave a team in Toronto that has it on the cusp of maybe being a top 5, top 6, possibly a top 4 team in the East to go to the West and coach a team that almost has no chance. Because then when LeBron leaves, and then you're only sitting there with Anthony. Yeah, then you're Anthony Davis. Yeah, then you're like way back when like they drafted Andrew Bynum and they had Caron Butler on those guys and they just couldn't win. Like now you're there, like you're already at places that you could win. First of all, nobody gives a fuck how they treated Vogel. So let's cut that bullshit right now. All these coaches like to say that shit in the media. They could give 2 shits about that. If they're going to pay them $8 million, they'll fucking pack up. They'll pack up Vogel's shit in a box for him, and they'll fucking send it to his house. They don't care. So that's out of it. There's no compassion in this fucking sport anymore. But I don't think anybody that really like, look, if something happens with Doc and they let him go, or they mutually say no, he might do it because he likes LA, and he gets to go to LA. But there aren't a lot of coaches that have good teams that are going to run and jump to go to LA. So that I do think that Mark Jackson will be the next coach. If it's not Doc, it's going to be Mark Jackson because of those things. He checks every single one of those boxes, and he's a clutch client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, I've had conversations with people off record with this, and some people said, look, it's about time he gets another chance. Would I hire him? No, but maybe it is the time. Maybe he's learnt from his mistakes. Everyone deserves a second chance. I'm not a huge fan.
I think he does. I think he will. Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, and so he made big mistakes, but we all have. I've made mistakes in my life, so maybe like I said, I wouldn't hire him, and he probably wouldn't sign me as a player. But I think everyone deserves a second chance. So I've probably come off my high horse of like, he doesn't deserve to coach in the NBA again. To if someone wants to give him a second chance, it's LeBron and the Lakers. Go for it.
He's got to keep the witch doctor out of the locker room, though. He can't be bringing the spiritual advisor.
That's probably in the contract.
Got to keep the spiritual. Yeah, got to keep the spiritual advisor. Let him keep his 1-900 number and his places in Venice Beach, but he cannot bring him in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be my
probably might be a deal breaker. Who knows? But money talks, bullshit walks. Finally, what the hell's with these fans, Pro? So in Minnesota, during the play-in,
I heard
a fan glued themselves to the court, I assume in protest of climate change or something along those lines. And today, a fan chained themselves to the basket in Memphis versus Minnesota in protest of chickens, apparently, of culling chickens, and so some sort of environmentalist. So you guys would have went to blows, Pro, I assume, if you ran into that girl, but chained herself to the basket stanchion, obviously not the rim, but the basket stanchion, and these political agendas have people running wild, Pro. They're now running onto the court in NBA games. So that was interesting.
I thought she was an activist, that she wanted to save the glass from being broken if Karl Anthony Towns shot on the fucking basket because she saw him last game. I thought she was trying to save the basket, but apparently it's chickens. So yeah,
no, but the feminists movement is all about breaking the glass, Pro. So
there you go.
That might not work.
There you go, folks.
But interesting one nonetheless. I think the NBA is going to ramp up security. If I'm a betting man, so there's going to be much more people with an earpiece staring people down that are walking anywhere near the court for the next playoffs, playoff games all around the league. NBL Pro, the Kings are continuing to surge. 13 straight, clinched a playoff spot in the top 4. Big win at Illawarra, who are a championship favourite as well. I got to say this, Pro, and I'm not being biased as an owner. The best NBL game I have watched live in a long, long time. I went down Illawarra for that game, and it was a sensational the product was perfect. That's the game the NBL should be promoting. It was end to end. 8-0 run, 10-2 run, up 4, down 4, both teams, high quality, high level, high coaching, unbelievable basketball. Really enjoyed it. We were lucky enough to get up in overtime. Illawarra missed a shot at the end. They made a run against us late, the game was tied. They missed a shot on the buzzer. And then we stomped them in overtime, I think won by 8 or 10. But a big win for us, obviously locked in a top 4 spot. So that was great. Perth are struggling. They usually have a homestand around this time of year every season, and same this season with COVID, and they've just been horrible in their homestand. They got a win versus lowly Cairns last night, which isn't anything to write home about, but they've had some struggles there. Vic Law hurt yesterday on a decal / wet spot. Don't know which one it was, but it was on a decal. He went down, his foot, he slipped and his foot ended up jamming under himself as he fell. Did not look good. Rumours he left the arena on crutches. Has scans today. We won't find out anything there, but they lose Vic Law. They're in huge trouble because Bryce Cotton's legs look absolutely fried. He has to carry them every night scoring-wise. And there's rumours that the Perth Wildcat fans want to drive their head coach to the airport the moment the season ends and send him home. So he's a proud organisation that they've never missed the playoffs, Pro. Which is amazing in itself. And they won't miss them, I don't think. Tassie could sneak into the 4, Tasmania, but they need to win out. And Perth need to drop 1 or 2. And Perth have a few tough games coming up, so they have Illawarra and South East Melbourne left. So we'll watch that space. Melbourne United continue to roll. Real solid outfit. I made a lineup change yesterday in a game against Brisbane. They benched 2 of their starters, which was interesting, which was Matt Dellavedova and Caleb Agata, who've started all season for them. They brought them off the bench. So I don't know if this was a rest-type protocol, maybe to just play them a little bit less towards the end of the season, try some new things. But it was interesting and head-scratching, so I'm not sure what's going on down there. Maybe they were late for a team meeting or something, but when you have two starters benched, it definitely raises some eyebrows, especially considering one of those is their marquee big spend on Dellavedova. So NBL rolling along. We're almost at the tail end, Pro, so hopefully I can have a ring on the end of my finger at the end of all this. Useful or useless, Pro? Ja Morant is officially the first guard in the league to lead paint scoring since the NBA started tracking it in 96-97. Since Shaq in 2005, only 2 other players have had more points in the paint, and they were Zion and Giannis. Useful or useless?
Useful for sure. I mean, the guy, for what he's done, we've been talking about this all year. The guy, what this guy's done, being able to finish, get in the paint and do what he does, is a pretty elite status, in my opinion. I think it's definitely something that you look at and you're like, wow, this guy's really done something. I'm a big fan of that stat. I think being able to finish in the paint as well as field goal percentage in the paint, I think being able to score in the paint like that, I think that definitely says a lot about what he's doing in the game and how he creates. What do you think, Bogues?
Yeah, same. My question will be, will that keep up in the playoffs? And I will say no. There's going to be a lot of adjustments to keep him out of the paint. It's going to be much harder to do. So that's the interesting one. When you go into a playoff series, they're going to lose a lot of those paint points from Ja Morant because I just don't think teams are going to give it up as easily as a regular season. But yeah, sensational for a guard to be at that clip. Only, Shaq, Zion and Giannis in the last, 20-odd years is pretty impressive. Mikal Bridges never missed a game in college, Pro. Mikal Bridges has yet to miss an NBA game in 4 years, 331 straight games. Useful or useless?
Useful. I mean, it just shows the guy's durable. Must have played hurt, a percentage of those, a small percentage or a higher percentage, but guy plays hurt, guy plays every day, shows up every day. I'm a big fan of people who could play consecutive games. I don't think it's a bullshit thing. Although it could be a Drew Holiday situation when you just check yourself in a game foul and then collect a few $100,000. But no, I think it is when you're durable like that, and you could you sort of check back and do your intel about how he did that in college as well. I think that definitely says a lot about the player. I think it's definitely useful. What do you think? Yeah,
useful for sure. Useful for sure. Durability is very, very important in the NBA. So. I did see someone, I think Ja Morant or who was it? Someone was going back and forth with a journalist, and the journalist, someone said, this is a really impressive stat. An NBA player tweeted about it, saying about Mikal Bridges, this deserves more respect, or this deserves more accolades. And a journalist said, yeah, the accolades are your paycheck, bro. Which is a fair point. You're paid to play, right? So I had a little giggle at that one. All right, Trae Young and LaMelo Ball, both 3 for 13 field goal in the first half. This is the second time in the last 25 seasons both starting point guards had 10 first half misses, including regular season. Playing and playoffs, Russell Westbrook and James Harden each missed 11 in game 1 of the finals in 2017 first round playoffs in the West. Useful or useless, bro?
What do you think, folks?
Useless. That's ESPN stats and info. Useless. 3 for 13 in the first half. Whoa, it's the, we don't see two starting guards have point guards have 10 first half misses. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Blah, blah, fucking blah.
Yeah, pointless one.
Yeah,
Intern shouldn't have tweeted that one. Joel Embiid, first center to lead the NBA in scoring since Shaq in 99-2000. Useful, useless?
Useful. I mean, the guy is dominating. Let's be honest. The guy, we talked about it like he started sturging. I mean, he played well all year, but like second half of the year especially, the guys really showed that, he just taken over the game. And when that guy's healthy, he's a behemoth and fucking impossible to stop. He's different than Shaq, obviously, because of his shooting and all that. But I mean, the guy is he's worth the price of admission, definitely, to watch him, especially in the offensive end.
Agree. Useful.
I think it's useful. Yeah.
Useful. There's a bucket down there and out there now. Shouldn't step back threes because Harden got there. What do you have? Fact or fake news?
All right, Bogues, let's go to it. Well, we covered the first one, sort of. Mark Jackson will be the next coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Fact or fake news?
I'll go fact. I think he deserves another chance to prove himself that he's not going to do the same shit he did in Golden State. And I think LeBron likes him. Clutch client. All the stars are aligning. It's going to get done. Fact.
I think it's fact as well. I think that, they'll run Doc Rivers up the flagpole. Obviously, look, Doc's not free yet, like a free agent to be able to do that. But I don't think those guys are going to want to be coached by Doc as far as because Doc will hold them accountable and actually call them on their bullshit. That's just sort of how Doc is. And I don't think they want to do that. So I think they're going to go with somebody, a clutch client, sort of will get along and then just sort of, just glad to be there. We'll deal with it. We'll deal with all the shit show stuff. I think Mark Jackson will be the next coach of the Lakers. I truly believe that. All right, let's stay on Philly just a little bit. If Philly gets bounced in the first round, which doesn't look like they're going to be, but let's just say they do, Joel Embiid will ask for a trade. Fact or fake news?
Fake news. He's Mr. Philly. He's embraced it. I think he's the man. Go somewhere else. He might have to have a lesser, not a lesser role, but stats might be hindered a little bit if he goes to a team that's stacked. So I would say fake news. I think he's staying. He's not going to leave Philly.
Yeah, at first I was like, maybe he does with all the shit show stuff. But I mean, look, James Harden just got there. Now we talked about the tomfuckery of not signed his extension yet. So maybe I don't know. Maybe he's playing a little game there to be able to get out just in case things don't go the way he wants them to. But I think he'll stay. I think Embiid wants to embrace the town. I think that. He's a little bit different. Even though he's outspoken, he's a little bit different with that. I think that he's not one of those guys who wants to go around to 7 teams. That's his team. It's his organization. Even if you're wanted by other places, when you go to another place, you're not really embraced like that, especially if there are other people there that had history, with the organization that are really good players. We saw that in Golden State when other guys would go as free agents, but come on. Steph Curry is always going to be Mr. Golden State.
Yeah, even KD.
And it's the same thing. Yeah.
One of the best players of all time went there and he was still Steph's team, no matter how you looked at it, because he's built that brand there, right? Same as Joel Embiid. I think when you think Philly, you think Embiid. So I don't think he asked for a trade. It'd be crazy if he did. I think that's fake news.
Fake news.
I got one, bro.
Right,
I got one. And this isn't me making it up. This is being put out there by LeBron James himself. Fact or fake news? Quote from LeBron James: roster moves, not my decision.
Oh, fake fucking news.
I saw that one. I was like, are you kidding me? Who are you trying to fool?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If those things would have went well, it would have been leaked out that he made all the decisions. But when things don't go well, hands up, it's not me. It's sort of like the guy that was fucking with the kid from Charlotte that threw the mouthpiece and hit the girl.
Yeah.
And then the guy put his hands up it wasn't me. Yeah, come on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, come on now. Let's be honest.
Have you seen a more leaky, sinking ship than the Lakers this offseason so far, Pro? This is like every other day. There's something leaked.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Like, and now they're trying to control it and sort of blame certain people. We talked about the Westbrook.
That's what I mean. Have you seen more leaks than these out of a team that's fallen from grace? I haven't. It's unbelievable how much leaks there are. Like, of trying to point the finger and this guy's fault, that guy's fault. Just let it go. You guys sucked. Move on with it. Rebuild. Come back next season.
Well, it's amazing some of these organizations that are run by billionaire owners that run multiple successful businesses. And these are billion-dollar entities. They're not $200 million franchises anymore. They're $2 to like $4 to $5 billion per franchise. Like, would you run a $2 to $5 billion franchise like this? Like that, the shit show that it is? Like, have some pride in your organization and stop the circus music. It's just a complete fucking circus. Half of when Magic Johnson, Magic and Pelinka, when those guys are going at it, then you got the LeBron thing, and then you get all this. It's just, it has to stop because look, the Lakers are going to crash. Now they'll always be valuable, like one of the most valuable teams in pro sports. But like when this LeBron thing leaves, you're not going to get anything for LeBron James. You're probably going to get rid of Anthony Davis at some point. You're not going to get a lot for him either. You'll get decent stuff, but not a lot. You're not going to have any draft picks really to retool this thing. This thing's going to be a shit show. It's a shit show because you let it happen like that. You had LeBron James, where he was productive. You had Anthony Davis. You had a few other players that you could have moved. Yeah, they overpaid for Anthony Davis. They gave up Ingram and a lot of other stuff and picks and things. But they got Anthony Davis. He's still a very good player, regardless of his injury history or what have you. But these other moves, because you've got 18 cooks in the kitchen running things that it's just a shit show. It's not being run effectively. And now you're going to have to pay the price for 5 to 8 years. You're not like the New York Yankees. It's not like baseball where you could just outspend everybody and build yourself a World Series team in a season. You don't do that in the NBA. You can't. LeBron James at the end of his career, you're not getting anything for him. You're not getting anything. You don't have anything that's truly all that valuable on your roster. So now you're going to have to retool this thing. And you had a chance to sort of have these young players, where you could have had some other things. But, even with the Westbrook trade, why not just keep the Kuzma and the Montrezl? Like, there's so many moves that were just fucked up that they made. And now you just fired your coach after 2 years away from winning a championship. It's insane.
It is
insanity.
More like I love this pod as usual. But yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just, I've never seen this many leaks on a sinking ship before. Usually your ship sinks and you just let it sink and you kind of just shut the fuck up and go quietly into the off season and retool, and then back in training camp, like, hey, yeah, we're going to try to tweak things and be better. But every other week, it's just crazy. And question for you, real quick to wrap up: if Rob Pelinka doesn't have that Kobe relationship and his name's Joe Schmo, when would he have been fired?
All-Star break. Nah, you know what? He would have been. He'd been fired
a year ago.
He would have probably been fired a year ago. Well. Here's the thing though, Bogues. If he didn't win a championship a year ago, for sure, he won a championship. I think that right around this time is when you would have probably let him go. Because watch, you won a championship last year. Last year wasn't good. Then this year, you don't really usually fire a GM. It's not like
I would say All-Star breaks
really
fair. All-Star breaks fair.
Yeah.
Or this season at least. Surely.
This season. You don't usually fire a GM like halfway through the year. Usually wait till the end. But definitely they say he's got 2 more years left in his deal. Probably would have got let go for sure after this year.
Yeah, if
but
he's Joe
Kobe
Schmo,
thing's
I think the Kobe thing's going to
save
save him. He's going to play out. He's going to have his whole contract. He'll get that 2 years, I reckon, just because that relationship. Hopefully you enjoyed the playoff previews. We'll do another one next week and have some better results. And looking forward to these playoffs, Pro.
Yeah, it'll be fun, Bogues. I love the playoffs. Don't really like the regular season all that much, but the playoffs, I definitely think it's high-level basketball. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, give us a share, give us a follow. You should know all the tags by now. I'm not going to repeat them, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Bro.
Thanks, Bogues.